So I got good news and bad news. I'll explain here coming up. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and despite my best efforts, still came up short, but it's not my fault, mostly. So here's where we're at. I spoke to a transmission specialist named Cecil from Triple H Performance, I believe, out of Tulsa, who was telling me a little bit about my predicament with the several TR6060 cores and the T56 cores, and now a 4060E that I acquired last night, and my plans and the build and his professional opinion on what the best route to be cost-wise and time-wise for the car. So here's where we're at. I have a 4060E out of a truck. It's a core piece. It was $100 off a buddy of mine who even delivered it. So 2 for 2 on the deliveries. That we don't know the history on, but it doesn't really matter because it's just a core, literally. It's just here to bolt to the transfer case to put in that car so that we can finish our fitment and alignment issues. Okay, there is a piece that goes right here, and I have a picture of it I'll put in here. And so with that, I don't have it. It's specific to the Adventura. It bolts transmission to the transfer case, as you can see, so you can then put it in the car. The problem with that is nothing in the US came with that, at least nothing in the GM lineup, because again, it was specific to the Adventura. It's not a huge deal. It's just something I didn't expect, because back when Alex and I were talking about what parts he was going to send, he had mentioned the transmission. I was like, I'm going to do the 6-speed swap, blah, 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 blah. It never occurred to me the cost of rebuilding the 6 speeds in and of itself. So like, Cecil had given me a quote based on a TR6060 and a GT500 that he's doing. He was like, man, it's $150 an hour and for labor plus parts, and I'm gonna give you a rough idea of a transmission we're working on right now, same engine, same transmission family, and the quote was like $4 grand is what the bill was at before they even finished it. Sorry about that. Had husbandly duties. Anyways, so like I was saying, we're at a standstill on parts. It's not a big deal. It's just annoying because there's no way for me to get this part other than Australia so far. There is a similar transmission. It's a 6-speed in the BMW 328i, I believe it was, X, the all-wheel drive one, because that's where the NV124, which is this transfer case, came from. But before I go down that route and go way off the deep end with all these other exotic parts, let me just see if I can source all the stuff I need from the car that all this came from, because that's going to be the easiest route for me to go and the easiest route for you to go if you decide to go down this path. Plus, once I solve my parts predicament, I will make a full list at the very end of the build, or at least once we get the car to the point to where the drive line is complete, like drive shafts and, you know, everything's bolted and modified or whatever. I'll have a complete list of everything that you need in that video, so that if you decide to try this on your own, you'll know exactly what to do, and it'll save you a whole bunch of time because you can order everything you need right up front the first time. Now, onward to the engine bracket. It's supposed to be right there, but it's not, because the last update I got was that it cleared customs 4 days ago, and it's somewhere between LA and here. Don't know when it's going to be here. It's supposed to have been here today. It's not. The steering wheel, which we'll get to here in a second, I ordered several days after this bracket showed up this morning. So there's that. And I cannot put the transmission in until that's bolted in to verify that this is, you know, square, however square it needs to be, so I can check the level and then check the rack reference, modify where that rack is, and then put this in. Now, technically, I can put this in the car as is, right? All this does is keep those two square, but for the sake of bolting it in the car, that would bolt to the back of the block, that would bolt to the chassis, and they would be relatively straight by default because of how they mount in the car, which would allow me to verify front drive shaft length and thus rack orientation. Once those two things are done, you know, once I get this piece that's missing, and I've emailed quite a few people in Australia looking on salvage yards looking for it. So somebody's going to have one. The output shaft looks to be the same length because I measured the flat of the engine where the bell housing would go to the nearest most bolt hole on the passenger side where the two bolt holes are. I'll show it. Let me flip around and show you. Here, so the very end of that bolt hole to the front flange of the bell housing measures out 28 and a half inches. And then eyeballing it on the car where the engine's currently sitting, even though it's kind of cattywampus because the left-hand bracket is missing, measures out 28 and a half inches. And that's with the engine slightly sagging because it's not bolted firmly in the car. So that tells me that that center section is the exact length it needs to be to make up for the output shaft length. I don't have any reason to believe that output shaft's going to be different because the spline count's the same. There's no indication to me as of right now that GM made a shorter one for any particular reason for the Adventure. That would be dumb. And auto manufacturers are cheap, so remember that. I need that bracket or that tail housing piece, the left-hand bracket to show up because I already ordered it. It's in the States. It cleared customs. It's somewhere in California. Of course it would be. And once we get those two items sorted, we can then hard mount the transmission into the car, verify the rack position, modify it as needed, hard mount it into the car, and the car is done. Honestly, the car is more or less done. And that may seem like a stretch, but if you have your fair share, had your fair share of projects, especially something on this level, hell, the all-wheel drive Civic guys know what I'm talking about. Once the main parts are in place, everything else is just technicalities, like wiring, not a big deal. Drive shaft length, not a big deal. You measure it, you take it to the shop, they cut it down to length, you bolt it in the car. That is it. My goal, we'll say, by October, okay? Because October's not that far away. By October, I would like to have, we'll say Halloween, a complete drive line, meaning the front half shafts are where they need to be. The front drive shaft's bolted in place. The rear drive shaft has been modified and it, adapters necessary or whatever, bolted in place. Transmission is bolted in place. The engine's bolted in place. Steering rack is functional and bolted in place. That is a complete rolling chassis at that point. I have a working LM7 here. This is a proven engine. It runs. I know it runs. You guys know it runs. I have the video of it running. This transmission, we don't know anything about it. But I do know, to some degree, it worked. Let's see, I'll grab it here. Oop, that's a bad example. There we go. Helps if I turn it in the right direction. See, it works. The transmission works. The transfer case works. So we're going to put fluid in it. Oh, we got to put a pan on it. Pan has a hole in it, but we'll put fluid in it. We'll just get cheapy Walmart special fluid. We're not even going to fill the thing up, but just put enough fluid in it that we don't burn it up by, seeing if it works or not, and let it ride. I would like, by Halloween, to have this engine back in the car, have the oil pan clean, the pickup tube and all that stuff taken care of, the transmission in there with the adapter piece, throw some fluid in it, run the cooler lines and all that good jazz, put it in gear, and see what happens, and have all 4 wheels turning. Now, if I don't have a coolant system hooked up in the car, I won't be able to run it for very long, but I'll be able to run it, put it in gear, or it'll be in gear most likely, and idle it and see if all 4 wheels turn, just to verify the concept works. Once that is done, bro, we're in there, we're done. The car works, it's done. Then I can spend the rest of the winter perfecting everything. So going back and checking this, checking that, getting tires, and finishing up the wiring and all that. I'm not even going to put the Haltech in, honestly, because the ECU that's in here is a 2000 or 2001 Suburban, which would have been in 5.3 anyways. Yeah, that would have been a 5.3 car anyways. Or actually, it is a 5.3 ECU, which would have been a 4L60, 60 or 65, 4-wheel drive, if I remember correctly. So the computer, the stock computer I have in the car is already the correct computer to run this transmission and that engine together. I just have to adapt the harness as needed to talk to it. And I have a truck harness from a Silverado up there in a bag that I kept because I don't throw away anything that I feel like would be useful, to pull the transmission side off of it, to which I guess I could work on that while I'm waiting, to plug it in here, make sure all the sensors and stuff are hooked up that I need to then adapt into the Suburban harness, or stripped down harness with a Suburban ECU, and we'll just run it like that for the sake of proving the concept. And that may seem like I'm cutting corners, and I'm not. It's just that I want to show you guys the absolute cheapest and most realistic way to do this swap on your own. And I understand that not everybody's going to have a smoking deal on a Haltech system and be able to buy all these sensors and extra shit to do all the cool like boost spy gear and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to show you guys the bare bones, simplest way to do this project on your own using stuff that you can find in a salvage yard between here and obviously Australia. Everything else you should be able to do in the garage yourself, like I'm doing right here. And then anything beyond that, it's just stuff I'm choosing to do, like the turbos and, you know, the wide bands, the standalone and all that kind of jazz. So that's where we're at. That's the goal. We're really freaking close, man. We are really, really close. Like, really close. It's crazy. But anyway, outside of my little rant there, let me show you the one cool thing I did. I had a guy on one of the GTO pages, I think his name is Dylan, so shout out to Dylan, and picked up a Sparkle wheel with an NRG hub adapter. I totally 100% did not need to do this, but seeing as it's basically a race car, as you can see, it's nice to be able to do that, right? And then just, there it is. So that was a little bit of bling. It also, since it's got a cage in it, as you can see, makes it a lot easier to get in and out of, right? So there's that. So that, what the CC Dubs is literally just playing in things I've always wanted to do to the car since I've had it. And outside of that, pretty much sums up where we're at for today, for this episode. I super bummed, honestly, but I am further along in the build than I think I am in my head. It's just, I'm not as far along as I'd like to be. But, just so you guys know, I have parts on the way, but I'm just kind of at a weird standstill. But I have two key parts. That left-hand engine bracket, which will show up whenever the fuck it shows up at this point, and then finding this tail housing extension to bolt the 4L60 to the transfer case to put that in the car. I also have the stock torque converter as well over there. So I just got to get a 5.3 flex plate, which, I mean, they're a dime a dozen. And I think they're the same between the GTO and the trucks anyways. Bolt that in there, put all this together, bolt the drive shafts and the half shafts and all that together. See where we're at, man. We are more or less approaching the finish line for this all-wheel drive GTO project. And the idea is to have a running, basically driving car, albeit on jack stands, because I can't drive it without tires, but running driving car by Halloween. So we're getting there, man. We are getting there, and I'm excited. I'm excited you guys are on this journey with me. So as always, thanks for watching.